Hi everyone, and welcome back. I have once again been gone for quite some time, which is just the way it will probably always be on this channel because I tend to film when I feel the urge to, and not according to a schedule because that's just how it feels good to me. That's what brings me pleasure and satisfaction. I know that the videos turn out better when I want to be here and not when I force myself to be here. I hope you guys will find understanding for that and are just excited when videos come and don't mind too much when they don't come for a while. But yeah, life has been busy, to say the least, and it has been a lot, which is why this space wasn't happening as much. But where I'm always active is Discord. So if you ever want to find a space for community, a space for asking questions, for just expressing stuff, for sharing stuff, or if you want to talk about journaling, meditating, yoga, whatever, psychedelics even, my Discord server could be a space for that if you wanted it to be. And over the last 2 or 3 months, I've had hangouts on Discord every once in a while. We even did book clubs twice, and I'm currently looking into more books that we could do for the Discord book club. And then we just hang out on there and talk about books, talk about whatever else comes to mind. And I also started a channel on the server for hangouts specifically and also for productivity sprints. So if that is something that you would be interested in, you can join. The link will be down in the description box below, and I would love to see you there because I'm active on there much more often. And I just love to be in the community of that and hang out with you guys there. Anyways, for today, the plan was to have a little hangout session, and I was gonna talk about books, shows that I've been watching recently, anime that I've been watching, music I've been listening to, and the reason I wanted to make a very chill video to just talk about anything and everything, but especially about books, is because I thought it might help you fall asleep, or it might help you to have this on in the background if you're feeling lonely and you just need something soft and comfortable to be in the background, or if you just want to get some book recommendations. This is also a space for that. You can use this however you would like, but I am up for any and all options, be it background or not, and I'm excited to just talk about whatever comes to mind. And I hope you guys are excited too, so grab a glass of water, please, drink something, stay hydrated, and if you want, grab a tea or a coffee, something comforting, a juice, whatever, maybe a snack. Or maybe get going on whatever you need to do, be it cleaning or sleeping. Maybe get aromatherapy going, a stick of incense, and let's do this. Okay, so I have quite the big stack of books that I chose to talk about. Jesus Christ. Let's divide these. But the books I wanted to talk about were kind of all-time favorites that are very comforting to me, and then also some other stuff that is nonfiction or some stuff that was very emotional. But yeah, I thought it would be nice to start out with fiction that is very comforting to me and that definitely belongs in my favorites category, because I think that's the coziest to start out with. So I think if you hear noises, that's definitely the books. And I don't know about you, but one of my favorite things about physical books is the smell. I could sniff these things for hours. I usually go to bookstores when I'm feeling very anxious and just smell books. That might be a bit weird. But I have friends that do the same thing, so I know I'm not alone here. But like the smell of it, and if it has really good paper, I have a few books that I read completely through, even though I didn't really like the plot, simply because I liked how the book felt in my hands. It was very grounding to me, and the paper was good. And if I like the print, I'll read it. But don't worry, the books I will talk about do have good plot and good writing. They're not just here because they smell nice. But yeah, let's get into them. So the very first book that I think is a comfort book for a lot of people is The House in the Cerulean Sea. And okay, if you have not yet heard of this book, you are missing out. And I don't care if you usually read fiction or you don't, if you like fiction or you don't, if you like magical realism and a little bit of fantasy or you don't. I think no matter who you are, you will like this book, especially if you are into the found family trope and if you like the representation of LGBTQIA plus relationships, because one of the main relationships in the book is a gay one. And I died of happiness when I found that out. And it's a really good book. So let me see if I can find the synopsis. Here we go. Linus Baker is a by-the-book caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records for company, but his quiet life is about to change. Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a curious and highly classified assignment. Travel to an orphanage on a distant island and determine whether 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they're likely to bring about the end of days. When Linus arrives at that strangest of islands, he's greeted by a series of mysterious figures, the most mysterious of which is Arthur Parnassus, the master of the orphanage. As Linus and Arthur grow closer, Linus discovers the master would do anything to keep the children safe, even if it means the world has to burn, or worse, his secret comes to light. And if that's not already enough to attract you to this book, it's written by T.J. Klune, who is one of my favorite authors, because every single one of his books feels like a warm hug. It feels like being in a blanket fort with a hot chocolate and candles going and someone just giving you the tightest hug imaginable and never letting go. That's what these books feel like, and I've had that experience with every single one of his books. Another really good one of his is Under the Whispering Door, which is, I don't have that one here physically, but that one is about this very grumpy man who was truly an awful person all his life, and then he dies. And at the end of his life, after death, he is guided to this tea house at Karen's Crossing and meets the tea house owner and his little group of beings that is with him, and changes through the power of love. And it's another one of those love stories that also includes community and interdependence and includes a found family, and is so comforting and emotional and truly makes you present. Like, that's one of the best things I think about TJ Klune's books, is that not only do they make you feel hugged, they make you feel more mindful and appreciative of your own daily life and of the community that you have around you. And specifically, The House in the Cerulean Sea has really amazing world building as well, if that's something you're into, and every single one of the characters is a character to fall in love with. Every single one of the kids in the orphanage is an absolute treasure, and the 2 main character adults are they're just everything you would want to be. The flaws of the characters, their humanity and their growth as characters, and the way that they do relationships and how that changes throughout the books is also a major focus in these books. And I think TJ Klune does an absolutely amazing job of making us fall in love with the humanness of the humanity of every single character in the books, and their fantastical ability to just love against all odds. or because of the odds, more so. Yeah, so if you're looking for warm hugs and presence and more gratitude, and also just a fantastic love story, and a fantastic world, then this or Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune are really good recommendations. And on that note, if you are really into character details, into character development, and you don't really care that much about actual plot in the sense of a lot of things happening outside of the characters' heads, or if you don't necessarily need that much world building, but you're really into family relationships, into friendships, into romantic relationships, and reading about how a character is developing mentally and emotionally and even spiritually, then I can really, really recommend Fredrik Backman as an author, and especially as a starting point, A Man Called Ove, which is a wonderful, wonderful little book that completely changed what I really enjoy and expect from my favorite books, or the books that I would consider to be 5 stars, because this book really showed me that what I enjoy the most about books is getting a look into someone's life and how they are changing throughout it because of the relationships that that person is in. And I really enjoy deep, deep, deep character studies, essentially. And Fredrik Backman really does that extremely well, and especially so in A Man Called Ove. But another one of my favorites in his collection of works is Anxious People, which is also a really, really good book. And both of those are, like, it's not like there's no plot, that's not it, but the most important thing and the thing in focus is truly the people and their relationships in the book. And mental health is always an extremely big focus, and it's never said out loud, but Ove to me also always read a bit autistic. So if you like reading about that, it also, trigger warning, deals with suicide and loss and grief and death. But it's one of those books that does it so incredibly well, that you're sitting there and you can't stop reading. You cannot stop. If you start this book, make sure that you have an entire day or two to get through it from beginning to end in one go, because you will want it. And it's one of those books that made me cry, obviously. It made me laugh. It made me feel excited and hopeful for life. It made me feel connected to grief in a really beautiful way, and made me feel more connected to the people around me as well, and to myself, and what's really important to me in life. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that a book can give you, is to make you feel more connected to life in and of itself. As for the plot of the book, it's about this man called Ove, and he is the grumpiest grandpa you could ever meet. He is a textbook grumpy grandpa. And throughout the book, we find out that he has lost his wife, who was always described as the only thing in life that gave his life color, which broke my heart on so many levels and was the most beautiful thing and also the saddest thing to read about. But she died, and the book is about his process through that grief and how it drives him to feel incredibly suicidal. But then it's about how new neighbors and old friends and also even teenagers come into his life and almost force him very kindly out of his seclusion, and how these relationships save him, give him a new perspective on life, and make him connect to himself again, and show him what life has to offer. And it's always wonderful to also read about older people going through so much change and completely changing their perspectives on life and loving so deeply, because usually I read about much younger characters that are kind of around my age, plus minus 5 to 10 years. So to read about someone much, much older and how their lives become so plastic and so transformative is always wonderful to me, because it gives you this perspective that life is a never-ending growth and learning process, and that relationships in all stages can be incredibly deep. The way that Ove in the book talks about his wife and about the life that they had together makes your heart break, and it really makes you believe in the power of love at the same time. And it makes you hopeful for life. It gives life more color. The whole book does. I can't give this book enough praise. I really cannot, and I really recommend that every single person reads it. There is no fantastical or magical realism aspect to this book. It's pure fiction, but it reads as if it were played in this world. So if you're not into fantasy or anything like that, you don't have to worry about that. That's not a part of this book at all. But make sure that you are prepared for big emotions. Make sure that you are prepared time-wise for this book, and make sure that you have time afterwards to talk to someone about this book, because I forced a bunch of people to read this book, and it's my number one gift every single time it's someone's birthday or Christmas or whatever, as long as I know that they can deal with the trigger warnings of suicide and depression and grief. Because I needed to have an army of people I could talk to about this book afterwards, and how real these characters felt. I literally went through a grieving process for like a week or two after having read this book, because I had to let go of these characters in some sense, and couldn't spend another hour with them, which is a very intense relationship to have with fictional characters, but that's how well Fredrik Backman writes. Alright, now on to the third book, and I had to think a while about which one I would pick next, but I think the correct one to pick is one of my all-time favorites that I will reread over and over and over again. It is Clarice Lispector's Agua Viva. And Agua Viva is a very special book that kind of transcends genre, in my opinion. I don't even know what kind of genre I would put this into. It's neither fiction nor nonfiction, or anything within those categories. It is a book that almost reads like a journal. It reads as if Clarice Lispector sat down and she was just recording what she was thinking in exactly this moment over and over and over again. And it's roughly about 100 pages, a little less, of exactly that at all times. But it is one of the most profound books I've ever read, and it is one of those books that made me feel incredibly seen, heard, and understood, because the way that she feels and the way that she thinks is exactly what goes on in my mind. And I love when you find authors like that can provide that for you, because she was putting emotions and thoughts into words that I was unable to express myself, even though I was feeling and thinking them, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. But essentially what Clarice Lispector was trying to do with this book was to capture the present moment. And it says here it's a direct confessional and unfiltered meditation on everything from life and time to perfume and sleep, strange, hypnotic, emotionally powerful. And this book has been a huge influence on many artists and writers, and even one Brazilian musician who read it 111 times, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And if I read it less than 111 times, I will force my life to go on for a little bit longer so I can read this 111 times. It's a masterly work of art which rearranges language and plays in the gaps between reality and fiction. And I think that's a perfect description for it. But to kind of give you an idea what this book sounds and feels like, I wanted to read a few passages from this book that were some of my favorite passages. And this book doesn't really have chapters or a plot or a timeline that you can follow. So these will just be bits and bobs pieces that I picked out from the book that are not really related, but that are just here to give you a little bit of a taste of what her meditations feel and sound like. I don't paint ideas, I paint the unattainable forever, or for never. It amounts to the same. More than anything else, I paint painting, and more than anything else, I write you hard writing. I don't want something already made, but something still being tortuously made. My unbalanced words are the wealth of my silence. I write in acrobatics and pirouettes in the air. I write because I so deeply want to speak, though writing only gives me the full measure of silence. And if I say I, it's because I dare not say you, or we, or one. I'm forced to the humility of personalizing myself, belittling myself, but I am the are you. I deal in raw materials. I'm after whatever is lurking beyond thought. It's like moments I had with you when I would love you, moments I couldn't go past because I descended into their depths. It's a state of touching the surrounding energy and I shudder. For each one of us, and at some lost moment of life, is a mission announced that we must accomplish. I, however, refuse any mission. I won't accomplish anything. I just live. Could it be that in the instant of death I shall force life, trying to live more than I can? But I am today. I write to you in disorder, I well know, but that is how I live. I only work with the lost and found. But writing for me is frustrating. When writing, I'm dealing with the impossible, with the enigma of nature, and of the God. Whoever doesn't know what God is will never be able to know. In the past is when the God was learned of. It's something already known. Do I not have a plot to my life? For I am unexpectedly fragmentary. I am piecemeal. My story is living, and I have no fear of failure. Let failure annihilate me. I want the glory of falling. My crippled angel who contorts all elusive, my angel who fell from the heavens to the hell, where he lives savoring evil. This is not a story, because I don't know any stories like this, but all I know how to do is go along saying and doing. It is the story of instants that flee like fugitive tracks seen from the window of a train. This book is just everything to me, and it is indescribable, and it is one of those books that will make you feel incredibly, incredibly present and grounded and connected to the very fabric of life. And I think that's what makes it incredibly valuable. So if that sounds like something that you need, then this is the book I would go for. I would go for Clarice Lispector in general. Every single one of her works is indescribably beautiful. Another author that I really enjoy and have always enjoyed ever since I read their first work is Ocean Vuong. And I will forever talk about Ocean Vuong. He will forever be in my top 3 authors of all time. And his newest work, as far as I know, is Time is a Mother. And it is a collection of poetry. And I have absolutely no words for this collection. Every single time I read one of his works, it changes my life, changes how I relate to it. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it. What's maybe important to know is that for this poetry collection, it's described as Ocean Vuong searching for life among the aftershocks of his mother's death, embodying the paradox of sitting within grief while determined to survive beyond it. So it's about personal loss, the meaning of family, the value of joy in a perennially fractured American spirit. It's vivid, propulsive, and brave, and circles fragmented lives to find restoration as well as the epicenter of the break. Ocean Vuong is like nothing else I have ever encountered, truly. And I think it would be best if I just read one of the poems to you. I do not own these works, I'm just reading them. I hope that's clear any damn way. So let me pick one real quick. Okay, I think the one I will read is called Almost Human, which is on page 94. And it goes a little something like this. It's been a long time since my body. Unbearable, I put it down on the earth, the way my old man rolled dice. It's been a long time since time, but I had weight back there, had substance, and sinew, damage you could see, by looking between your hands and hearing blood. It was called reading, they told me. Too late. But too late. I read, I made a killing in language and was surrounded by ghosts. I used my arsenal of defunct verbs and broke into a library of second chances, the ER, where they bandaged my head even as the black letters kept seeping through like this. Back there, I couldn't get the boys to look at me, even in my best jean jacket. It was 2006 or 1865 or .327. What a time to be alive, they said. This time louder, more assault rifles. Did I tell you? I come from a people of sculptors, whose masterpiece was rubble. We tried. Indecent, tongue-tied, bowl-cut and diabetic. I had a feeling. The floorboards creaked as I wept motionless by the rehab window. If words, as they claimed, had no weight in our world, why did we keep sinking? Lord, why did the water swallow our almost human hands as we sang? Like this. If you don't take anything away at all from this video, take away that Ocean Vuong's poetry is something that you must read once in your life. So if you can, find a good independent bookstore, ask them for a copy of this, and just sit down for 5 minutes and look through it and see if it speaks to you. And maybe it does. Who knows? If you know Ocean Vuong and you like reading about him, do let me know down below in the comments, because I would like to find some other people to talk to about this author. The next book I absolutely needed to talk about is this beauty right here, which is called Underland, and it's by Robert Macfarlane, A Deep Time Journey. And essentially, this book is a documentation of Robert Macfarlane's journey into a bunch of different underground worlds. So this is caves in different countries, it's tunnel systems, just journeys underneath the surface of the earth. And he's taken these journeys in multiple countries and multiple regions and describes his journeys and what he has learned from them and what it means to descend into the earth on an emotional, mental, and spiritual level as well. And it's one of those books that just needs to be experienced. It can't really be described, really. The way that John Banville described it is a celebration of all that lies hidden beneath our feet and a warning, if warning were needed, of the continuing, reckless human undermining of our exquisite and all too fragile planet. Macfarlane is a poet of the natural world, and this is his masterpiece so far. It is truly a majestic book. It's a wonderful book that almost reads like poetry from beginning to end. And it taught me so much about the hidden world underneath our feet and how we've been connected to the soil, the earth, and what grows underneath, and how we have used the spaces underneath the earth for things that are dead, things that need to be hidden, things that we wish to grow, things that we wish to explore. It's a space that does so much for us, and we stand atop of it every single day, walk atop of it, and never think about it too much. At least I didn't until I read this book. And he also writes in a way that really makes you feel like you're underneath the earth. So it gets claustrophobic sometimes, but the way that he writes about emerging again out of the earth back onto the surface always solves that claustrophobic feeling again as well. And if you're into shadow work at all, it also reads like a parallel to shadow work. This physical manifestation of shadow work, a literal going into the depths, going into the unconscious of the planet, and diving deep into what that means emotionally and mentally. And it's also a book about climate change and how humans are treating this planet. So if you're into that at all, I can really recommend this book. And something that I wanted to leave you with, if you know Robin Wall Kimmerer, she wrote Braiding Sweetgrass and also Gathering Moss, which is another one of my favorites, A Natural and Cultural History of Mosses. Robert Macfarlane in his book Underland also talks about her writings and her philosophy. And I found a really great passage about her writing that I wanted to read to you. So in this passage, what is discussed is how Robin Wall Kimmerer and Robert Macfarlane are of the opinion that we need to change language or incorporate language into our daily life that makes us essentially feel more connected to the world. So it says here, like Kimmerer, I wish for a language that recognizes and advances the animacy of the world, the life that pulses through pines and nuthatches and mushrooms, welling up all around us. Like Kimmerer, I relish those aspects of discourse that extend being and sentience respectfully and flexibly beyond the usual bearers of such qualities, meaning humans. Like Kimmerer, I believe that we need now a grammar of animacy. A modern predisposition to regard animacy as anomaly runs through what the poet Jeremy Prunn once called mammal language, by which he means the language that is used by humans, encoding intent, agency, and muscular power deep in its grammar. The real underland of language is not the roots of single words, but rather the soil of grammar and syntax, where habits of speech, and therefore also habits of thought, settle and interact over long periods of time. Grammar and syntax exert powerful influence on the proceedings of language and its users. They shape the ways we relate to each other and to the living world. Words are world makers, and language is one of the great geological forces of the Anthropocene. I am going to leave out one of the paragraphs and continue with another thought that I found very interesting. Projects have recently been started around the world to gain even the most basic of vocabularies for the experiences of life and death in the Anthropocene. Only one of these recent coinages resonates with me: species loneliness, for the intense solitude that we are fashioning for ourselves as we strip the earth of the other life with which we share it. If there is human meaning to be made of the wood wide web, it is surely that what might save us as we move forwards into the precarious, unsettled centuries ahead is collaboration. Mutualism, symbiosis, the inclusive human work of collective decision-making extended to more than human communities. You look at the network, and then it starts to look back at you. And what's maybe really interesting and also changed my thinking a little bit is that I think if I remember correctly, it's the Potawatomi Native American language of the Great Plains region. I'm not completely sure. It's a Native American language, but within that language, the word for world is forest. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to know and just meditate with. All right, I just noticed that I still have this stack of books, and I think that's going to be too much for one video, but if you guys would be interested, I would love to talk a little bit more about books, because I have a lot of them and I love talking about them, so do let me know if you would be interested, because then I will surely make more videos to talk about books. But maybe very quickly we could move on from books to music. How about we do that? And then we keep the movies and shows and anime for another time. Let's stick to music this time, and we'll just go through a few recommendations of stuff that I've been listening to lately, and then I would love to know what you've been listening to. What kind of genres do you really like? What's your favorite song of the day, of the week? What song do you feel like best describes who you are, or feels the most like what you feel like when you feel most like yourself? Very complicated, but I think you know what I mean. Let me know. I just got my phone, so let's see the truth of what I have been listening to the most. funnily enough, and I don't know if anyone knows this about me really, because I don't think I dare talk to anyone about this, but something that I have started listening to as a genre is funk. And that is so weird because if you had shown me this type of genre and this type of music 2 or 3 months ago, I would have hated it. But now I love it because I listen to it when I walk from place A to place B because it makes me walk faster and with a lot of confidence. But so I've been listening to that a lot, but let's put that aside. Because I don't want to talk about that new obsession too much. But if you need something that will make you walk like a gay with an iced Americano or an iced latte, which is what I am, then but if you just want the vibes of that and you want to get somewhere very quick and you want to feel like a model on a runway, maybe you should be getting into funk. I don't know. It's an idea, okay? Don't judge me. But anyways, my life has been in a lot of transformation, upheaval, and change, and to me, that always reflects in the music that I listen to because I can no longer listen to the playlists and music that I used to love in another phase of my life. So I make playlists that call in the new phase of my life, essentially. Music that I find that is completely new and that I know will kind of be with me for the next phase, for the next few months of my life. I don't know if anyone else does that, but yeah, one of the first things that I always do when I notice a big change happening in me or in my outer world is I completely disregard my old playlists and start making new playlists. That's why I wanted to start talking about music. So a question to you as well is if you have any good R&B, jazz, soul, any fusions of those three, if you have good Afro beats, if you have good bossa nova, then let me know. Put recommendations down below or hit me up on Discord because I am very much in a phase of gathering new music and finding new artists and works of art to listen to. And I'm especially starting to get into a phase where I actually listen to albums as a work of art all in one go, which I've never done before. I've never actually sat down with an album and listened to it like first song to last song in one go. I usually just pick the songs that I think I would like based on a title, start with that, and then listen to those, and then eventually I'll have listened to the whole album, but I never sit down and experience a body of work like that. So if you also have album recommendations, I would really appreciate that. Yeah. But let's get into it. So I made a playlist of songs that make me feel like myself, and some of them are songs that I'm going to take into the new phase with me, which has never happened before, that I've taken songs with me from an old phase into the new phase. It's only 2 or 3 songs, but they were important enough to me. And the first one is called Change My Mind by Alina Baraz. Alina Baraz, I'm probably butchering her name, is one of those artists that no matter what she puts out, I will listen to it. It will become a new favorite, and it just makes me feel so much like myself, in this song especially. So give that one a listen. It's very sad that I can't play these songs right now, but if you want and you have the time for it, maybe you can stop the video each time I mention a song and then just get out your Spotify, your Apple Music, your YouTube, whatever, and listen to a few seconds of the song so you kind of get the vibe I'm going for. The next one is called More Than Ever by Joya Moy. And this is a really special one to me because it just, right when big change was happening and transformation was happening, this was a song that came on randomly from a song radio. Like I hit shuffle in a playlist, and you know how Spotify sometimes then plays songs that you don't know yet that are not yet in your playlist? If you have that option ticked, if you have that turned on, and that happened with More Than Ever, and right from the get-go, it was one of those songs that made me feel at home in myself. and that made me feel grounded, but also just excited to get going again and to start something new with my life. I don't know. It was one of those songs. Another one of those songs that also perfectly described my mindset in this time of change, that is still describing my mindset in this time of transformation, is Doubt Nothing by G. Gray. Ooh, the song. Okay, I'm gonna have to read some lyrics so that you get what I mean. Yeah, within the lyrics, within the chorus, it says, happy with the hands I'm dealt, better than I've ever felt, like I doubt nothing. Nothing ever lasts that long. You wait, it's great, and it's gone. Happy with the hands I'm dealt, better than I've ever felt, like I doubt nothing. And especially this thing with happy with the hands I'm dealt, like I doubt nothing, that was something that really hit for me, because for the first time ever, I was going through a lot of loss all in one go and a lot of transformation. But for the first time ever in my life, it was relatively easy for me to just surrender to it and let it happen, because I had so much faith in the universe and in myself especially, and the social environment that I have built throughout the past years, that I knew I could deal with anything that came to me. And I also just knew that intuitively and on a very deep level, on an unshakable level, that what was happening to make space for something even bigger and better, and newer. And I've never had that sort of faith in life in general, and in myself and in the universe. So to feel that way has been and is life-changing for me. And I know I won't always feel this way when big changes happen, and it's not better than feeling hopeless for a while, or feeling like the world is ending and going through intense amounts of grief with no light at the end of the tunnel, essentially. I'm not saying that this version of dealing with incredible amounts of change is the better, higher version. But it is the kind of mindset that I have been working towards. And it was amazing to be able to feel that way, to grieve and at the same time know that this was the best way it could have happened. And to just be excited for a fresh start and to completely overhaul my life and become a newer, better version of myself. I was just really excited for that. And I wasn't doubting a single one of the actions and transformations that was happening, wasn't doubting that whatever was happening was necessary for me at this moment. And that felt really good. It felt very grounded, which is not something that a lot of us might experience in a time of extreme overhaul and transformation. And like I said, I never have had the privilege and blessing of experiencing that, but I am experiencing it now, and it's very wonderful. And this song really, I felt that emotion in the song as well. Okay, another really good song that I found is called Mama Saturn, and Mama Saturn is by Tanorel. She has some other really, really good songs like Good Good, which are just amazing. So if you want to check her out, wonderful artist. I don't know which pronoun she uses, I just keep saying her. If you want to check them out, wonderful, wonderful artist. Another one that I find amazing is Chew by Anais. She also did a Colors studio performance. If you know Colors, the YouTube channel, that was a really good performance. It really hit for me. And then, if you like Afrobeats, but you also like R&B, and you want a fusion out of the two, a song recommendation I have is Eye to Eye by Nonzo Amadi. Great song. Also, really cool cover design. It's like, you can't even see it on the screen probably, but it's like a black with two eyes with tears and a 2 in the middle. I don't know. I really love stuff like cover design for albums and singles and stuff. It gets me going to look at it and try to figure out how it fits the song and stuff. Okay, another song that is absolutely a summer song to me, but also a very chill song that I think will just give me a dose of summer during the fall season if I need it, is called Wickedest by Tamara. It's like one of those songs that feels like golden hour, if you know what I mean. And then I have a playlist called Mama Cacao, and it has a bunch of songs that are either meditation songs or songs that I would do full moon ceremonies to, or songs that I would listen to right before yoga or during yoga. You know, those kinds of songs. I guess you could consider them a bit more of the spiritual section or spiritual genre, if you want to call it that. I don't know what genre to put these songs in, is what I'm trying to say. But they're songs that make me feel connected to the universe. So if you're into that, if you've ever been to like a full moon ceremony or a yoga studio or like a cacao ceremony even, this is the vibe that I'm going for. And one of the songs that I really like currently from that playlist is called Calma y Tranquilidade by Mose and Profil. And I'm butchering all the names, by the way, but it's okay because I'll put them up on the screen and you can correct me. I was going to say downstairs, down below. But Mose is one of my favorite artists. And that song really speaks to me on a very deep level. Same with Naturaleza, the Mose edit, which is by Mose and Danit, whoever. Great songs. And the same goes for Diana Lopez, if you know her. She has amazing songs. She has one called Euphoria as well that is very different from her usual stuff that I love. And one of the songs that fits into the Mama Cacao playlist is called Ritual, and another one called Moonwater. The names alone already give away what kind of songs these are, and they're a vibe, and I really invite you to sit with them and listen to them while you have nothing else going on, just to kind of feel what they feel like. Yeah. I think I'm gonna leave it there. And if you have any song recommendations for me, or even just want to tell me what you're listening to at the moment, I would love to know. Also, let me know what you're reading at the moment, if you're a reader at all. Let's do a quick section before I finish this of podcasts, because I love podcasts. And recently I was talking to a friend about podcasts, and I told her my favorite one. And we came to a point where we figured out that a lot of people in my friend group didn't know that there's such a thing as fiction podcasts, because podcasts are often the place you go to like get personal development information or learn about politics or society or culture. They're like places of learning almost, or places of reflection. And those are great podcasts, and I listen to them a lot. But there's also fiction podcasts, and I didn't know until a friend showed me last year, and now I'm the friend that shows my friends. My books almost just fell. That shows my friends that there are fiction podcasts. So if you like fiction podcasts, or if you want to get into them, great place to hang out in. I listen to them nonstop, and one of my favorite ones that a friend showed me last year is called The Bright Sessions by Atypical Artists. Which is a podcast about this therapist who has patients or clients that are atypical. So there will be this one person that can read minds, or this other person who is an empath, this other person who can move things with their mind, this other person that can travel in time. So it's proper fiction. And then all these single, like the podcast is essentially built like as if the therapist were recording the sessions with the clients. And it's also LGBTQ plus friendly, which is amazing. And eventually all these single patients and episodes start to come together and form a bigger story. Another really good one is The Amelia Project. And The Amelia Project essentially is a story of the secret agency that fakes its clients' deaths and then lets them reappear with a brand new identity. And it's a Black comedy, full with like secrets, twists, turns. So much happens, and you really get into the characters and start loving them, and you just never know what's going to happen. And it's also just funny. It's deeply funny. And if you're looking for another comedy that is like it has like sarcasm and dark humor and stuff, I can really recommend Wooden Overcoats, which is an award-winning sitcom. And essentially it's the story of Rudyard Funn and his sister Antigone, who run a funeral parlor, very difficult. And one day a new person comes into town and starts their own funeral parlor, and a competition between those two funeral parlors kind of ensues. And there is a bit of mystery in there too, a bunch of comedy and humor, and it's just a good time. And I can really recommend those. And when it comes to podcasts that are not fiction podcasts, I can really recommend, Talk Easy with Sam Fragoso, which is very unusual for me because Talk Easy, what Sam Fragoso does is that he invites authors, musicians, and actors and all sorts of other famous people and has interviews with them about their career, their perspective on life, their philosophies, and so forth. And usually that wouldn't be interesting to me, but the way that Sam Fragoso interviews them, the questions that this person has, it's an amazing time and it's really high quality, so I can really recommend that one as well. It's a lot of fun, and also just one of those where you can learn a bit for yourself as well, or reflect on things in your own life. Another really good one, in my opinion, is Pulling the Thread with Elise Lernan, which are conversations with, it says here, leading thinkers, authors, experts, doctors, healers, scientists, and deals with life's biggest questions. And if you're into podcasts just like this, my favorite of all time is called On Being with Krista Tippett, which has amazing episodes with all sorts of people about literally every topic you could imagine. But it's about the big questions of meaning in life, spiritual inquiry, science, social healing, and the arts, and the immensity of our lives. That's kind of how it's described, and it's a wonderful time, a wonderful podcast, and Krista Tippett is a wonderful interviewer. So if you're interested in that at all, those are really good places to start. What podcasts are you guys listening to right now? What kind of genre of podcast do you really like? Let me know. I would love to know. And yeah, you know what? I think this is a good place to end this. If you would like to have another hangout session for me to just be in your background, or for me to give you light, easy entertainment, or a few recommendations, then let me know down below, because I would love to do this again. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time, a chill time, a cozy time. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon with hopefully an Iceland vlog, because I was fortunate enough to travel for a week. So if you want to see that, stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Discord or in here very, very soon. Stay safe. And I love you guys. Bye.